Hello everybody, Ryan here from Guitar Teacher Tools. I'm redoing my part 2 of how I teach students how to improvise in a classroom setting. It's been 2 years since I made that video and I never really liked it. The audio was terrible, but at the time I put a lot of time into it, so I just kind of went with it and I thought I'll revisit later. Well, it has been 2 years. I'm finally revisiting it and a lot has happened. I've redesigned the website, rebranded. I've actually switched from middle school to high school, but all these things will still reapply and we'll go forth from there. So if you haven't watched that previous video, go watch it for step one. I think the story that I tell about my first experience learning how to improv and how terrible it was really turned me off from it, made it feel like it was my fault, that it was just something I couldn't do. I think that's important to share with students or share your own experience. Obviously, it's probably going to be completely different. But that helps me. Again, I constantly share my experiences of how I've learned things, how I do things. I think that's so crucial to let them know that I didn't just sit down and start playing guitar. They hear me play, and again, they've heard 30 years of experience. They didn't see all the background. I think it's important to share. So I'm constantly doing that. So I felt in this situation, that's the first thing I do. Once we get to that step, I was retaught then to play improvisation, starting from the very basics of literally just playing one note at a time. By telling students what to play, all they have to do is focus on when to play. Because the hardest part that my teacher tried to explain of improvisation is knowing what to play, when to play it, and doing that on the spot instantaneously. So by telling people what to play, it does remove some improvisation elements out of it, of course, but the 50% of the when to play, or what you're when you're playing that single note, there's where some improvisation can happen. And then we can slowly, again, build from there, and we'll do that in the next couple of parts. So I explained to them that we're going to play the first string open because they've already done the pentatonic scale. They've played a couple of blues songs at this point. And so I explained to them the reason why the first string open works is because two of the three chords use that note, and we kind of explain, and E7 has E in it, and the A7, the only one that doesn't is a B7, and that's okay. And then I tell them, even giving them further instructions, okay, you can play whenever you want, but try and limit it to maybe whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, maybe some eighth notes. So give them 3 or 4 very basic rhythm options, and even kind of explaining, hey, if that seems too much, just take 2 of them. Play just whole notes and half notes and make it every other measure. I mean, I try and give them a fair amount of guidance. I'm trying to make them feel as comfortable as possible. And then, of course, they're all going to play together at once, 30 some odd kids. I'm going to strum the chords, and I do reinforce that having some chords or some backgrounds are good and helpful to, again, have the musicianship, especially when they're playing rhythms instead of just randomly willy-nilly. Now, ideally, 30 kids is not the best situation to do that because it is very chaotic. At the end of the video, I have a video of me, of multiple perspectives, of me strumming chords and me pretending to be 5 or 6 different students playing at once. It can't be very chaotic, but again, it's better than not doing this at all, in my opinion. And then after that, I might have 1 or 2 kids that are brave enough individually do it. And by that point, most of the kids, after we've done this 3 or 4 times, they feel fairly comfortable. I'll have some kids do it individually so they can kind of hear. But it's worthwhile enough that even though with the chaos, they are learning the skill that they need and getting from there. So we play the first string open. I'm playing the chords, half notes, whole notes. And again, there are constructing music. Now, when I did this, after, again, my first initial apprehension or confusion, I'm like, this is going to be dumb. I really enjoyed it because, again, my previous experience was just garbage, and it just sounded, what I was playing was garbage, and it just didn't sound like anything. It was just so random. At least this was organized. Of course, it wasn't a blazing, shredding solo, but I created it, and it sounded good. And that's what I also tell the kids is playing the first string open, nothing's going to sound bad. Even if they play a little out of sync with the chords, they'll start learning and they'll start making it good and putting it together. And usually that doesn't happen too often. So again, it's really successful. It builds their confidence right off the bat. Again, many kids are very apprehensive about when I say improvisation. You can see this frightening in their eyes, like, okay, we're going to make up songs. But I found that even with all of them, and I think another part of that is sometimes having all 30 of them play, they're just playing in their own little bubble around their seat with all of them around. Nobody else is really paying attention. And again, it's chaotic. They can kind of hear themselves. They know what they're playing. But that also takes the pressure. I'm not bringing them up in the front of the room right off the bat and saying, okay, you've never done this before. Here you go. And then after they've done it, a few kids are willing to kind of do it on their own at their seat. And again, we can go from there. So here's a video clip of what it would kind of sound like in a class on a smaller scale. But again, don't be afraid of the chaotic nature of it. They are learning, they are doing it. And I hope to see you on part 3.